For most of human history, power has been associated with men, kings, generals, village chiefs. We are taught that leadership wears a male face. But in a little-known corner of Africa, a different system has been quietly challenging that assumption for centuries. Hidden beyond the red dirt roads of Malawi lies a structure of power that remains almost invisible to the outside world. A place where land is not passed from father to son, where family lineage is traced through the mother, and where women do not merely participate in governing their communities. They form the foundation of the entire social order. From land ownership and agricultural production to conflict resolution, female chiefs oversee villages that have remained stable across generations. What makes this even more remarkable is that this is not a modern experiment. It has existed for hundreds of years. And while much of the world continues to debate gender equality, Malawi appears to have found a very different path long before those conversations ever began. But that is not the most surprising part. Because the deeper we ventured into these villages, the more we discovered that what operates here is not simply female authority. It is an intricate, resilient, and almost invisible matriarchal system, one that has quietly shaped the lives of millions for centuries. From above, Malawi's villages look much like countless rural communities around the world. Red dirt roads cut through farmland. Simple homes are scattered across green fields. The landscape appears so peaceful and familiar that it is easy to assume life here follows the same rules as everywhere else. But that is only what can be seen on the surface. Beneath this traditional setting lies a structure of power that challenges many of our assumptions about leadership, family, and ownership. Because here, in the hands of women, land is not inherited from father to son. Family identity does not necessarily follow the father's bloodline. Instead, inheritance is guided through the mother. Plots of land, family connections, and sometimes even the future of entire communities are passed from mothers to daughters across generations. What is particularly striking is that this is not a trend that emerged in the 21st century. This system existed long before the internet, before smartphones, before modern debates about gender equality. And what makes it even more extraordinary is that it did not disappear as the world changed. In 2026, as the digital economy reshapes life across the globe, this ancient social structure continues to survive, adapt, and evolve in its own way. But to understand why it has endured for so long, we need to meet the people who keep it functioning every day. And the story begins with the women who are regarded as guardians of the land. In many communities, a female chief is far more than a cultural symbol. She is responsible for decisions that can affect the harvests and livelihoods of hundreds of families. From allocating farmland and resolving disputes to coordinating agricultural activities, every choice she makes has a direct impact on the survival of the community. It is a form of power very different from the one most of us imagine. Less visible, less celebrated, rarely featured in headlines, yet present in almost every aspect of daily life. And perhaps the greatest surprise lies within the family itself. In many societies, marriage means a woman leaves her family and moves into her husband's household. Here, the story often unfolds in the opposite direction. The husband becomes the one who moves into his wife's community, a newcomer in the village of her maternal family. This seemingly simple reversal quietly transforms the entire balance of power within family life. Because when land, lineage, and support generations, not only in more stable food supplies, but also in schools, roads, and community projects built with resources that are reinvested directly into local communities. It is an outcome that has led many observers to ask an important question. Is the secret behind the stability of these villages rooted in the land itself, or in the women who have safeguarded it for centuries? And this is only the shade of ancient trees, in simple village courtyards. Disputes that may determine the future of entire families are brought into the open. Land conflicts, marital disagreements, inheritance disputes stretching across generations. Issues that, in many parts of the world, would be taken before judges, lawyers, or government authorities. Yet here, the power to decide often rests in the hands of female elders. There are no modern courtrooms, no long-standing traditions, and authority earned over a lifetime. What is particularly remarkable is how rarely their authority is challenged. When a female elder speaks, the community listens, not out of fear, but because her decisions are viewed as essential to preserving the unity of the village. And it is here that a different philosophy begins to emerge. While many modern legal systems focus on determining who is right, who is wrong, and who deserves punishment, matriarchal councils often pursue a different goal. How can the community remain whole after the dispute is over? The objective is not to create winners. It is to prevent the creation of losers who carry resentment for years to come. Because in a village where survival depends upon cooperation, a broken relationship can sometimes be more dangerous than an imperfect judgment. But what surprises many outsiders most is the way these meetings are conducted. Within these councils, social rules are observed with remarkable discipline, especially for men. Who may speak, when they may speak, and how they may speak. Everything follows customs that have been passed down through generations. In this setting, power is not demonstrated by speaking louder than everyone else. It is demonstrated by knowing when to listen. And this is only one part of the system that has helped these communities remain stable for centuries. Because beyond the Council of Elders, another form of power is quietly at work. Not political power, but economic power. And it is produced alongside the traditional banking system. Small savings are pooled together. Loans circulate within the community. Each harvest becomes an investor of power itself. A perspective in which stability is built through relationships rather than domination. Where power is distributed rather than concentrated. And where responsibility to future generations is valued as highly as immediate gain. As the world moves through the turbulent years of the 2020s, leadership crises are emerging across the globe. Trust in institutions is declining. Social tensions are increasing. Systems once considered unshakable are beginning to reveal cracks beneath the surface. And while many search for answers within the largest centers of power on Earth, some of the most important lessons may be found in places few would think to look. Small villages, red dirt roads, councils of elders gathering beneath ancient trees, social structures almost invisible to the outside world. Because sometimes the systems that endure the longest are not the ones that attract the most attention. They are the ones that have quietly proven their value over centuries. And perhaps that is the most thought-provoking lesson Malawi has to offer. Not that women hold power, but that a community can remain stable and prosperous for generations while operating according to principles very different from those that much of the world once believed were necessary. A reminder that the future is not always built from new ideas. Sometimes it is found within ideas that have existed for a very long time, waiting patiently for the world to notice. Malawi is not a perfect society, nor do its villages contain all the answers to the challenges of the modern world. Yet they reveal something important. Human societies are far more adaptable than we often imagine. There is no single blueprint for stability, no universal formula for leadership. And perhaps the greatest lesson hidden within Malawi's matriarchal villages is not about women or men at all. It is about the possibility that strength can emerge from cooperation rather than control. That resilience can grow from shared responsibility rather than centralized authority, and that some of humanity's most valuable ideas may still be waiting in places the world has not yet learned to see. But this story reminds us of something important. There are more ways to organize a society than we are often taught. More ways to define power, more ways to maintain order, and more ways to build a future. While much of the world continues to debate leadership, equality, and development, these small communities have been quietly testing a different model for centuries. A model built more on responsibility than domination, more on inheritance of duty than personal authority, and more on the belief that the strength of a community does not lie in the person at the top, but in the bonds that hold everyone together. Perhaps that is why these villages continue to endure, to adapt, and to thrive from one generation to the next, even as the world around them constantly changes. And perhaps the most important question Malawi leaves us with is not whether matriarchy is better than patriarchy, but rather, how many valuable lessons have we overlooked simply because they emerged from places the world rarely pays attention to? If you enjoy discovering unique cultures, hidden truths, and perspectives that challenge the way we see the world, be sure to like this video and subscribe to Discovery's channel, because there are still countless secrets waiting to be uncovered. And in our next journey, we'll step into another world that most people have never had the chance to see. Thank you for joining us on this exploration. Until next time, keep questioning, keep discovering, and keep exploring the unknown.